Are you hitting the road this summer? Getting ready for a classic American road trip? Well, before you pack the car and grab some snacks for the open road, I need to warn you about something. There are things that happen on the long, desolate highways that stretch across this country, things that lurk in the shadows, things that can't be explained, things that defy logic, things that might make you think twice about stopping at that lonely gas station in the middle of the night. The kind of things that send shivers down your spine, so buckle up to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss our terrifyingly true road trip horror stories, and get ready for your next rest stop to get a whole lot creepier. You've been warned.
It was a dark and stormy night. Rain lashed against the windshield, blurring the already hazy outlines of the trees lining the desolate highway. I, a seasoned trucker on my usual route from California to New York, squinted through the downpour, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I'd been driving for hours, the only company the rhythmic swish of my wipers and the low hum of the engine. I was starting to feel the pull of fatigue, the monotony of the road lulling me into a dangerous daze. That's when I saw her, a lone figure huddled beneath a flickering streetlight, a splash of color against the bleak landscape. A young woman, her thumb extended hopefully. She was drenched to the bone, her hair plastered to her face, clothes clinging to her slender frame. I hesitated for a moment, a flicker of unease in my gut. I'd heard the stories, the urban legends about vanishing hitchhikers, but something about the woman's forlorn expression tugged at my heartstrings. I couldn't leave her stranded in this weather. I pulled over, rolling down the window just enough to be heard over the roar of the storm. "Where you headed?" I asked gruffly, trying to sound less apprehensive than I felt. The woman looked up, startled, as if she hadn't expected me to stop. She gave a watery smile, her eyes bright with relief. Thank you so much," she gasped, her voice barely audible above the wind. "I'm headed to Harmony Creek. It's just up the road a few miles. You'd be doing me a huge favor." Harmony Creek was on my route, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was my duty to help. "Hop in," I sighed, gesturing to the passenger seat. The woman gratefully climbed in, bringing with her the scent of rain and something faintly floral, like honeysuckle. She introduced herself as Lily, and as we drove, she told me about her car breaking down a few miles back. I listened patiently, my initial apprehension giving way to a paternal concern for the young woman. Lily seemed nervous, her fingers twisting in her lap as she spoke. Every now and then, her gaze would dart to the back seat, a flicker of fear in her eyes. As we approached the turnoff for Harmony Creek, Lily directed me to pull over at an old dirt road, claiming it was a shortcut to her aunt's house where she was staying. I, though hesitant to let her walk alone in the storm, relented. I watched as Lily, clutching her small bag, disappeared down the muddy track, her silhouette swallowed by the darkness. Hours later, after a night of restless sleep, plagued by dreams of the girl in the storm, I was haunted by an unsettling thought. I'd been driving this route for years, and I'd never seen a turnoff for Harmony Creek. I tried to shake it off as a figment of my exhaustion, but the feeling persisted, gnawing at the edges of my mind. Days later, plagued by guilt and doubt, I decided to retrace my route. I found the spot where I dropped off Lily, the dirt road as desolate and eerie as I remembered. But something was different. There, at the edge of the tree line, was a weathered wooden cross, barely visible through the undergrowth. My blood ran cold as I approached it, my heart pounding in my chest. The inscription on the cross, barely legible beneath years of weathering, sent a chill down my spine. Lily Rose, taken too soon. My breath caught in my throat, my mind reeling. I stumbled back, my legs weak beneath me. I had to find out the truth. My search led me to the local library, where a helpful librarian pointed me towards old newspaper archives. As I scrolled through the brittle pages, my eyes fell upon an article from decades ago. The headline screamed in bold letters, "Local girl vanishes from highway, foul play, suspected." The accompanying photograph, faded and grainy, showed a smiling young woman with familiar, haunting eyes. It was Lily. The article detailed the unsolved disappearance of Lily Rose, last seen hitchhiking on this very highway. The date of her disappearance? The same night I had picked up the mysterious girl. My blood ran cold as I read the final line of the article. Lily's body was never found, but her memory lives on in the whispers of the wind that sweeps across the highway, a chilling reminder that some mysteries are better left unsolved.
Sarah and I were on the final, grueling leg of our cross-country road trip. Our excitement to finally be heading home overshadowed by the crushing fatigue of endless miles and sleepless nights. The Nevada desert stretched before us, an unforgiving expanse of sand and scrub brush under the merciless midday sun. The air shimmered with oppressive heat, distorting the horizon into a surreal, blurry mirage. The eerie silence of our drive was shattered by the sudden, thunderous roar of an engine. In the rearview mirror, a pair of headlights appeared, growing ominously larger, with terrifying speed. A massive 18-wheeler, a hulking behemoth of chrome and steel, was bearing down on us, its horn blaring like a monstrous wail. Startled, I swerved slightly, my knuckles white on the steering wheel as the truck thundered past, its horn a deafening blast that echoed across the desolate landscape. Sarah shot a worried glance at me, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The truck was driving recklessly close, its massive grille seeming to fill our entire rear window, a menacing presence. "What's with that guy?" Sarah asked, her voice tight with apprehension and fear. I, my brow furrowed in intense concentration, just shook my head, muttering under my breath about crazy drivers. I tried to focus on the road ahead, but the truck continued to tailgate us, its presence a menacing shadow in our rearview mirror. Miles stretched into an eternity, the relentless desert sun beating down on us like a relentless hammer. The truck never let up, its horn blaring intermittently, a jarring sound that set our teeth on edge and our nerves on fire. The tension in the car was palpable, the silence punctuated by Sarah's nervous breaths and the constant ominous drone of the truck's engine. "We need to pull over," Sarah finally said, her voice trembling with fear. "This isn't right. Something's not right." Though hesitant to stop in the middle of nowhere, I could see the raw fear in her eyes. I slowly guided the car onto the shoulder, the gravel crunching ominously under the tires. The truck, however, didn't follow suit. Instead, it slowed momentarily beside us, the driver's window a dark, impenetrable void. Sarah could have sworn she saw a figure silhouetted against the bright sunlight, a hulking shape with eyes that glowed an eerie, malevolent red, but it was gone in a flash. With a deafening roar, the truck sped off into the distance, disappearing in a cloud of dust. We sat in stunned silence, our hearts still pounding in our chests. What had just happened? Was it just a close call with a reckless driver, or was it something far more sinister? As we sat there, catching our breath, a chill ran down Sarah's spine. "Did you see the driver?" she whispered, her voice barely audible, trembling with fear. Still shaken, I shook my head. "No, I couldn't see anything through that glare." Sarah hesitated, then spoke, her voice barely a whisper. I think I saw red eyes." We decided to continue our journey, hoping to put as much distance as possible between ourselves and the unsettling encounter. As we drove, we couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the hairs on the back of our necks standing on end. The desert, once a source of awe and wonder, now felt oppressive, full of unseen dangers lurking in the shadows. Hours later, as the sun began its descent, casting long, eerie shadows across the highway, we came across a small, deserted diner. The neon sign flickered weakly, casting an eerie, ghostly glow on the dusty windows. We decided to stop, hoping to find some coffee and maybe some answers to the terrifying experience. The diner was deserted, the air thick with the smell of stale coffee and something else, something indefinable and deeply unsettling. As we sat at the counter, Sarah noticed a faded newspaper clipping pinned to the wall, its edges yellowed with age. The headline, printed in bold black letters, sent a chill down her spine. "Phantom truck terrorizes travelers on Highway 49. The article described a series of bizarre accidents and disappearances along that stretch of highway, all attributed to a mysterious black truck that seemed to appear out of thin air. Witnesses described the driver as a shadowy figure with glowing red eyes, a malevolent entity that seemed to vanish into thin air after each encounter. Sarah's blood ran cold as she read the final line of the article. The phantom truck remains a local legend, a chilling reminder that some roads are better left untraveled. She looked up at me, her eyes wide with fear, just as I pointed to a spot behind the counter. There, scrawled on the wall in what looked like dried blood, were the words, "Beware the truck with the red eyes."
The Hardigan family, John, Mary, and their 2 young children, Emily and Ethan, were on a road trip to visit their grandparents. It was late, well past midnight, and the children were fast asleep in the back seat. John, his eyelids heavy with fatigue, was struggling to stay awake, the monotony of the highway lulling him into a dangerous daze. "There's a rest stop coming up," Mary said, her voice cutting through John's fatigue. "Why don't we pull over for a bit? You need to rest, honey." John knew she was right. He was in no shape to be driving, and the thought of coffee and a chance to stretch their legs was too tempting to resist. The rest stop was bathed in an eerie silence, the only sound the gentle hum of the wind rustling through the trees at the edge of the parking lot. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered, casting long, distorted shadows across the deserted picnic tables and trash cans. The air was thick with an oppressive stillness, as if the very air held its breath. As John stepped out of the car, he felt a prickle of unease crawl up his spine. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, their every move scrutinized by unseen eyes. He chalked it up to exhaustion, his nerves frayed from the long drive. Inside the restroom, the air grew colder, the fluorescent lights buzzing ominously. The stalls were eerily clean, devoid of the usual graffiti or markings one might find in a public restroom. As John washed his hands, he glanced at his reflection in the mirror, startled by the haunted look in his own eyes. Outside, Mary was trying to soothe a crying Emily, who had woken up from a nightmare. Ethan, his eyes wide with fear, clung to his mother's leg. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" Mary asked, her voice soft and reassuring. "It's cold, Mommy," Ethan whimpered, his small body trembling. "And I see someone watching us." Mary dismissed it as a bad dream, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The air was heavy, charged with an unsettling energy. As they piled back into the car, John noticed something strange. There, etched into the dusty back window, were 3 words that sent a chill down his spine. "Get out now." He quickly turned the ignition, eager to leave the rest stop and its unsettling stillness behind. But as he put the car in gear, the engine sputtered and died. He tried again, pumping the gas pedal, but the engine wouldn't catch. Outside, the wind picked up, swirling around the car, and the trees at the edge of the parking lot swayed violently, their branches clawing at the night sky. The children were crying now, their small faces pale with terror. John felt a surge of panic rising in his chest. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. It was Mary. She was pointing to the restroom, her face contorted in horror. "The door," she stammered, her voice trembling uncontrollably. It just opened by itself." John felt a cold dread grip his heart. He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that they were not alone. Mustering his courage, John stepped out of the car, grabbing a tire iron from the trunk for protection. The wind whipped around him, carrying with it the sound of whispered voices, unintelligible murmurs that seemed to slither in the darkness. He crept towards the restroom, each step heavy with dread. The door to the restroom stood ajar, the fluorescent light inside flickering erratically. As John peered inside, his blood ran cold. There, scrawled across the mirror in what appeared to be blood, was a message that sent shivers down his spine. "You're next." John stumbled back, his heart pounding in his chest. He had to get his family out of there. As he turned to run back to the car, he saw her. A figure, shrouded in shadow, stood behind the car, its eyes glowing an eerie red in the darkness. The children screamed, their cries echoing in the night. John gripped the tire iron, his knuckles white with fear. With a surge of adrenaline, John lunged at the figure, swinging the tire iron with all his might. But the figure was gone, vanished into thin air. The car engine roared to life as if by some unseen force. John didn't hesitate. He bundled his terrified family into the car and sped away from the rest stop. The horrifying image of the glowing red eyes seared into his mind. As they drove through the night, the wind seemed to whisper a warning. a chilling reminder that some places hold secrets best left undisturbed. And the Hartigan family, forever changed by their encounter at the haunted rest stop, vowed to never stop at a deserted rest stop again.
So the next time you're on a road trip and you're thinking about taking a shortcut or stopping at that deserted rest stop in the middle of nowhere, maybe think twice, because you never know what lurks in the shadows, waiting for unsuspecting travelers. Sweet dreams. You know what I find really unsettling about these stories? It's that they could happen to anyone. We all drive, we all take road trips, and we all rely on the kindness of strangers sometimes. But these stories remind us that even in the most familiar of settings, there's always the potential for the unknown to rear its ugly head. Stay safe out there, and if you see a hitchhiker on a dark and lonely road, maybe just keep driving. These tales linger in our minds, a haunting reminder of the fragility of our safety. What do you think? Do these stories make you reconsider your next journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more reflective and eerie content. Until next time, stay vigilant and stay safe.